Welcome to Espresso 3. This is 15 minutes of movement for the low back this time. It's also great if you are like me and have menstrual cramps. And it's designed to be very slow. Put on your PJs, let your hair down, and therapeutic for the days that you don't feel like moving. That being said, if you would like to have 2 blocks, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we are going to start on our back today. So, starting with supine pelvic tilts and a little bit of breath work. Find your triple S on the mat, your sacrum, your shoulders, the back of your skull. Connect to your breath and feel the way it expands. A lot of these muscles are connected, and when our low back is in pain, some of the muscles attached to both areas, the top and the bottom, we're going to give them some soothing movement. Feet are hip width apart. On your inhale, tip the pelvis away from you, feeling the low back lift off of the floor. And on your exhale, tucking the tailbone towards you. It doesn't have to be a big movement, just very subtle and in line with your breath. Just explore. If tipping the tailbone away from you does not feel good, then don't do it. Maybe you just spend the whole time here breathing. And then on this last one, tuck your tailbone, press down into your feet and lift your hips. Just enough so you can maybe fit a fist between yourself and the floor. Feel the glutes dial in, feet dial into the floor. Whole line engaged, trying to expand the low back. And instead of this tipping forward and backwards motion, we're going to do a side to side motion. So drop your right hip to the right. The left hip kind of stays where it is. It might lift a little. Bring it back to center and then drop the left hip. So it's almost like you're turning the entire lower half of your body like it's a steering wheel. Go slow and mindfully. Now we're just kind of moving and easing into movement that's bringing out the low back in a gentle way. If you were just on your back, you can always rock left and right. And on this next one, back to center. And slowly roll your spine down onto the mat. Gather your knees in towards your chest, taking them wider than your ribs. And you can stay here and enjoy this opening in the inner thighs. If you'd like to deepen it, you grab onto the inner ankles and let gravity do some work here. Again, paying attention to the mindful breathing. If you'd like to rock left and right because it feels good on your mat, please go ahead and do so. Here for 2 more breaths. Good. Take your hands to the outside of your knees. Gently bring your knees back in. Roll onto your right side and push yourself upright. Make your way into quadruped. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Of course, more than welcome to put blanket under your knees or even elevate your hands. Begin to move the spine, just noticing what feels better. Does extension feel better? Flexion, lateral flexion. And then we'll begin to do some roller coaster like movements. So take a breath in, expanding from top of head to tailbone. And on your exhale, round the back, shift the ribs to the left, and then drop the chest down, roll it to the right. So we're creating this circle with the center of the body, being mindful of hand pressure, trying to stay within the limits of movement for the body. Breathing where it feels good, and then go the other direction. I like to call these roller coasters. I don't know if you've ever been on a corkscrew roller coaster where you go in a circle. That's kind of what this movement reminds me of. Good, and then come back to center. Find the space between cat and cow. Take your right leg out to the right, extending it long. It should be about in line with your left knee. Begin to rock back towards your heel. Your back toes can be tucked or flat. I like to inhale as I sit back because it makes more space in the low back, but feel free to exhale as you rock back. A lot of these inner thigh muscles attached to the pubic bone, the low back as well. So it's always a great idea to just get these mobilized. So we'll switch sides. So bring the right knee in. Give the hip a little shake. Give the ship a little hake. Sometimes words are hard. Begin to rock back and forth. Notice what this side feels like compared to the other. I like to bring awareness into the body because some people, they just like to think it's time to check out. I think it's important to pay attention to what you're feeling. But last one. Bring your knee back in, big toes together, knees wide. Leave one of your blocks. Put the other aside. Coming into child's pose. Your forehead can rest on your block. The arms can go forward or just rest right by your side. I like this variation here because I'm just curling up into a little ball, and that's all I want to do. Send breath into the back. And now we'll extend the arms forward. Walk your hands to the right. Your block can kind of follow you. Opening up the left side here. You can place your left hand on top of the right. Breathing into the left side body. One more breath in. Let it out the mouth. And go ahead and switch sides. Walk your hands over to the left. Opening up in the right side, you can stack the right hand on top of the left. Good. Come back to center. Take a moment to find your breath. You can remove the block. And then slowly shift your weight forward. Tuck your toes. Lift your hips. Walk the hands back towards the feet for a happy squat. You can bring a block with you here. And then find the stretch that feels appropriate for your body. Bending the knees more will soften it. I like straightening my legs a little more because it kind of helps with my low back. Hands can be on the block. You can also place the block between yourself and your thighs. That creates more space in the low back. You could also do that with a blanket. You'll be here for another 3 breaths. Breathing in. Letting go. Let the head go. That's attached to your low back as well. Last breath in. And let it go. Bend your knees slowly. Come on up to stand. Coming into a wide-legged stance facing the side of your mat. You get to choose how wide. So our hips are made to do some swiveling action. So while standing, we're going to move them. So you'll turn to the right, take your arms out wide, and you'll swivel around your right hip, stretching the top of your other foot, and then swivel to the left. As you become more comfortable, this becomes a little bit more sway. Let your arms be a little freer. Good. And coming into a wide-legged forward fold. Your toes can face forward, they can face out, or they can face in. Turning them to face in kind of gets a little bit more into the low back, but it might be a little bit iffy on the knees. So find out what feels best for you. Maybe you take your feet a little wider apart, maybe you use your blocks, maybe you shift the hips left and right. Finding breath here. Softening the knees. Getting a little spinal decompression. Slowly turn the toes to face forward. Begin to bend one knee, straighten the other, really pressing through the foot, and then push through the other foot and bend the other knee. So again, getting into the inner thighs, outer hips. If you'd like to add some chest rotation, you can here to open up more tissues, but it's completely optional. Good. Now we'll turn to the left, slowly lowering your back knee, followed by the other. It's time for modified pigeon. Good hip stretch to help the low back. So I'm going to straighten the right leg, pull my left knee a little more forward, and then turn my ankle a little inwards. Slowly sitting back in the hip, creasing at the hip, and walking the right foot back. Now, you could also bend your back knee if that is a lot of stress on the low back. I'm going to demonstrate here. And then fold the chest over your inner left knee. You could also be on a block here. Or if your knee doesn't touch the floor, put a block under your knee. Again, your back leg could also be straight. But sometimes doing too much doesn't feel good. Listen. Listen to your body. Breathe in, slow it down, and exhale. Inhale, walk your hands up and switch sides. So I'll turn towards the back of my mat now. Turn my chest towards my inner right knee and lean forward where it feels best. Taking an inhale. Exhale. Slowing down your breath. Two more. Breathe in. Let it go. Last breath in. And exhale. And inhale, come on up. And for our final movement, one of my favorites to do in bed. Bringing the knees into the chest, rolling onto the back. Take your knees to the right. They can land on a block. I apologize for any noise you might hear. People are going in and out outside of my door. Extend your left arm to the left. You can place your right hand on top of your left knee. You could also place a block between knees. This is one of my favorites. If you have any sciatic things, the block definitely helps to kind of keep the pelvis stable. Inhale, come back to center. Take your knees to the left. Gazing to the right. Breathing in. And breathing out. Last breath in. Letting it go. And come back to center. Slowly make your way up to seated. I hope your low back feels a little bit better, and may you find time to breathe and move throughout the rest of your day. Namaste.